from my class. They are doing a skit called Too Much Noise, which is completely appropriate for my class. From day one, and I said this morning, about 165 out of 165 days, they make too much noise. So, but they're a great group. So, without further ado, we have Too Much Noise.
Once there was a farmer. He lived in one room of a small hut with his wife and mother and his two small children.
He worked hard on his farm all day.
When he came home at night, the noises in his house drove him crazy. His wife talked to him. His mother-in-law talked to him.
His two small children talked to him.
And they all talked at the same time.
The poor farmer put his hands over his ears and cried,
"Too much noise! Please, please, quiet, please!"
But they went right on talking.
At last, in desperation, he asked the advice of a wise woman.
"What should I do? The noise is driving me crazy. Will you follow my advice?"
The wise woman asked, and the farmer answered.
"Yes." "Good.
The wise woman said,
Go home and bring one cow into the house with you."
Alarmed, the farmer asked,
"A cow in the house? How will that help?" "Well, if you don't want my advice."
The wise woman said.
So the farmer went home and brought the cow into his house.
Exclaimed his wife.
Said his mother-in-law.
A cow in the house.
Said the children. And they all said it at once.
A cow in the house.
Said the cow, bewildered by the noise.
The poor man just held his head and cried out.
"Quiet, please. Quiet, all of you."
The next day he went back to the wise woman.
"Well, how is it?"
The wise woman asked.
"Worse than ever. While they talk, the cow moves. The cow moves. It's terrible." "Good. You have a dog?" "Yes, 2 of them." "Good. Tonight bring the 2 dogs into the house."
Advised the wise woman, and the farmer shouted in dismay.
"Bring the dogs into the house?" "Well, if you don't want my advice."
Said the wise woman.
So the farmer went home and brought the 2 dogs into the house too.
A cow and 2 dogs.
Said his wife.
A cow and 2 dogs in the house.
Said his mother-in-law, and the children repeated.
A cow and 2 dogs.
Said the bewildered cow. And the 2 dogs barked at being locked up inside. The poor farmer just held his head and moaned.
"Quiet, please, all of you."
The next day the farmer went back to the wise woman, who asked,
"How is it now?" Worse than ever. Are you sure you know what you're doing?"
Asked the unhappy farmer. The wise woman looked at him and said,
"Yes, tonight I want you to be sure to bring indoors a rooster and all the hens." "My rooster and all the hens? How will that help?"
cried the farmer in alarm, and the wise woman said,
"Well, if you don't want my advice."
So the farmer went home and brought his rooster and all his hens into his house.
A cow, 2 dogs, a rooster, and all these hens in our house.
Said his wife.
Are you crazy? A cow, 2 dogs, a rooster, and all our hens. Are you crazy? A cow, 2 dogs, a rooster, and all our hens.
Cried the children.
went the cow,
Went the dogs.
went the hens, and the rooster crowed.
"Quiet. Oh, please be quiet."
The poor man. The next day, the farmer went back to the wise woman, who asked,
"Well, how is it now?" "Terrible, terrible. I cannot last another night like this." "All right."
said the wise woman.
Now listen with care. Tonight go home and be sure to put the cows back in the barn.
The farmer did, and while there was still a lot of noise, at least the cow was not there to moon it.
The following night, he went to the wise woman again, and the wise woman asked,
How was it? Better than the night before."
Said the farmer with a sound of relief in his voice, and the wise woman said,
"Good. Tonight go home and be sure to put the 2 dogs back in the barn."
That night, there was still a lot of noise, but at least there was no cow mooing and no dogs barking.
"How was it?"
The wise woman asked the next night, and with a smile on his face, the man said,
"Better." "Fine. Tonight go home and put out the rooster and all the hens."
In And the farmer did.
No cow mooed at him.
No dogs barked.
No rooster crowed.
No hens cackled.
It was wonderful.
The next night he went back to the wise woman, who again asked,
How is it now? Last night was so wonderful. So quiet. So quiet. No mooing, no barking, no crowing, no cackling.
Said the farmer in a very happy voice.
Good. I told you it would be better.
said the wise woman with satisfaction in her voice.
And the farmer went home.
His wife and mother-in-law and 2 small children said,
At last you have come to your senses again.
But the farmer only smiled to himself.
For without the cow and the 2 dogs and the rooster and the hens, their voices seemed very quiet indeed.
Chap, 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 chap.